Hello, my esteemed viewers. This is BVI Channel 1. I still remain Asus Soludo Peters. On this episode of Biafra Discourse, I'm going to be talking about the political angle towards Biafra independence. Many Biafrans have avoided the issue and topic of politics or engaging in political activities with the quest for Biafra independence or with respect to Biafran independence campaign. Before I proceed, I am very sure you know this man on the screen. He is one of the most outstanding personality in his career and all his life endeavor. His name is Prof C.C Soludo, the former CBN governor of Nigeria. He has added his voice towards the question of Biafra agitation for independence during a book launch titled The Politics of Biafra and the Future of Nigeria. As many voices are being added to Biafra independence, this eloquent and proficient Biafran have made his opinion clearly known with respect to Biafra independence, and that is what I want to bring to your notice. I want you to give him your ears, listen very attentively, and pick important points from what he got to say, and I'll be right back. Don't go away.
It's a great pleasure for me, really an honor, to be called upon to review this book, The Politics of Biafra and the Future of Nigeria, by the one and only Honorable Chudi Ofodile. If you want to hear from me, the summary of the review that I'm going to make is to simply say, read this book. If you haven't read it, you haven't read any book on Nigeria, on Biafra, and the road ahead in recent times. There could be two contending views: the Neo-Zikism, a fairer federal Nigeria, versus the Neo-Biafranism. People who are impatient, who think this thing cannot be fixed. You can't fix Nigeria, it's beyond repair. Just let my people go. There's no question. And even within that, there are differences about the strategy to go through that. Nigeria, everybody talks about restructuring. From this book, we get an unambiguous view of the faulty design of the Nigerian system. There was a modification of the Agui-Ironsi's unitary system into a unitary federal structure with a suffocating command post at Abuja. That suffocating command structure of unitary federalism was okay for sharing and consuming the oil rent. But now that things are falling apart, but that system also, even while the oil rent lasted, was inherently politically unstable and unproductive economically. If you see the failed or fragile state indices and the rankings of Nigeria, we have been coming back precipitously from number 54 in 2005, now to number 13. We are one of the countries under the red alert list. And so it hasn't worked. The concoction hasn't worked. The 36 state structure that we have today, Ofodile argues very forcefully that this current 36 structure is contrary to the instruments of surrender of Biafra. That there are three conditions that they agreed on the instruments of surrender. One of which was that the Biafrans accepted, said, we accept the current structure, which then was a 12-state structure. And that B or C of it was that any future change must bring all Nigerians on the table to agree. And that these were the things they signed at the instrument of surrender, but that the military unilaterally subsequently changed the structure without then the participation of the other side. And he argues that this is against the instrument of the surrender, and that no wonder the Southeast has been marginalized out of it, 5 states out of the others having 6 and 7. The census and revenue allocation that disadvantages the Southeast. There is the citizenship question. The Igbos think they become visitors everywhere all over the country. When it is time for census, the Southeast complain that they are about the only ethnic group that have maybe a majority of their people living outside of their homeland. And that during census, their populations are counted in the states where they live. Imagine a state, and then population becomes basis for sharing the oil money in Abuja. When it is time for that, you count them in there, you don't ask for state of origin in the census. But then, you use also the population to get the allocations. But when it is time to share anything else, you remind them that they don't belong here, as the case may be. So there have been issues about citizenship question. He said, the lesson to be learned, if anyone cares to listen, is that the detention of Nnamdi Kanu, no matter for how long, will not stop the agitation of Biafra, end of quote. He further argues that the detention of Uwazurike between 2005 to 2007 helped to radicalize his followers. The same thing happened when the leader of Boko Haram was killed. The new Biafra movement started in 1999, and not after this election as being falsely put up by some. It takes on the Masob, the IPOB, Belia initiative, and so on and so forth. And the fact that actually there are, within this new movement of the new Biafranism, there is a division between those who want the democratic process, going through the legal process, and that you now have people, Dr. Dozie Ikedife, OON, and retired Justice Ezo Zobo, CON or whatever, of Nigeria. They are now in court. They have sued the federal government of Nigeria at the Federal High Court in Owerri, actually agitating that Biafra should let my people go, as it were. So there is a division in the new Biafranism between the Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu's group, and the Dozie Ikedife and the other elders, that they have actually set up a customary government, as it were, on how to pursue this. So, as they put it,
some people who do not understand the ideology of indigenous people of Biafra from the very start, as they were presently misinformed that indigenous people of Biafra have no customary government, that the administrative system of Biafra now is command and control. Let me quickly flash back on Radio Biafra broadcast as anchored by Nnamdi Kanu, so that Biafrans will understand exactly the true ideology driving indigenous people of Biafra and how IPOB administrative system is structured.
Good evening, wonderful people, great Biafrans wherever you are in the world. We are welcoming you to today's rather extra special edition of the News Hour of Radio Biafra, coming to you live from Texas, from Corpus Christi, Texas in the United States of America. I'm Nnamdi Kanu, your host and director of Radio Biafra, and by the grace of God, a servant of the wonderful people of Biafra. I am delighted to say every Biafran, wherever you are on this planet, be it today, yesterday, or from 10, 15 years ago, if you identify yourself as a Biafran, you should come under the authority and the guardianship of the Council of Elders of the Indigenous People of Biafra. We have a de facto government enshrined in the Constitution of Nigeria by virtue of the fact that we are seeking to deploy customary laws as a way of governing our people. So we can have a Biafra, in fact we have a de facto Biafran government as we speak, headed by His Royal Majesty Honorable Justice Ezo Zobo, retired. Go and register and be a part of what Radio Biafra is doing, which automatically entitles you to become a Belia Human Rights Initiative member. I am not leading Biafra, neither is my team at the entire board of the Radio Biafra editorial board. We are not leading Biafra, neither is Belia leading Biafrans. Biafrans are led by our wise men, our wise elders, our wise fathers, our wise uncles, our brothers, who will make up the Council of Elders of the Indigenous People of Biafra.
The idea of a customary government under the Supreme Council of Elders in accordance with customary law enjoys the support among a section of the Igbo. The lesson to be learned, if anyone cares to listen, is that the detention of Nnamdi Kanu, no matter for how long, will not stop the agitation of Biafra, end of quote. So, if I were President Buhari, quite honestly, I would be very suspicious of anyone who advises me to ignore the Biafran issue. I'll be very suspicious. Anybody who says that is either ignorant or being mischievous, or quite patently doesn't mean well for the government itself. It probably wants the same government to repeat the mistakes of the past so that it could lead it down the trend.
From what we have heard so far from Professor Charles Soludo with respect to Biafra independence and the future of Nigeria, the question arises, do Biafrans really need to apply or engage in political activities towards the agitation of Biafra independence? If Biafrans actually needed a political activity to achieve Biafra independence, how and why should they engage in political activities? Like I will always say, do not engage in a fight with a fool, because he's going to bring you down to his level and beat you with experience in foolishness. Over the years, Biafra agitation lacked intellectual content, and as a result of that, Nigeria has taken that as a weapon against our people to molest and harass Biafran agitators. This is because Nigeria is paradox to intellectuality. But I can tell you categorically that the game has changed. Indigenous people of Biafra have fully engaged Nigeria in an intellectual warfare, as indigenous people of Biafra, through her customary government, have engaged Biafran independence campaign through every legitimate means. That is why indigenous people of Biafra sued Nigeria for self-determination in her own court. Yet, Nigeria lacks the intellectual competence to confront the Biafrans in their own court. The same was witnessed during the case at ECOWAS court between Nnamdi Kanu and the federal government. Like I said earlier, that Nigeria is paradox to intellectuality. That is the reason why they have tried every possible means to avoid engaging Biafrans in an intellectual confrontation. Nigerian government would rather prefer that Biafran agitation remains on the street. Biafrans are already in court fighting for her self-determination. Biafrans have already been adopted into the ECOSOC Department of United Nations and African Union, exploring the diplomatic angle and approach for Biafran independence. Biafrans have engaged in serious public sensitization via various media platforms. But Biafrans have failed all these years to engage in political process. This is as a result of misinformation and misconception about what politics is all about. Politics is not all about contesting and winning election. Politics is all about who gets what, where and when. Politics is all about taking control of what belongs to you. Now let me tell you, independence campaign is a political process itself, and we cannot go far. We will be doing merry-go-round if we do not consciously engage in political activities. Take a look at Catalonians, take a look at the Palestinians, take a look at South Sudan. All of these people engaged in the political process. 99% of Biafrans want Biafra independence, and they form the chunk of the electorate. We shall use our voting power to change the political landscape of the southeastern part of Nigeria, including the Niger Delta region. There is nothing like South-South. I must emphasize on that. There is nothing like South-South. It is southeastern part of Nigeria. Thank you for watching. For more video updates, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like, share, and don't forget to drop your comments. Follow us on all our social media platforms. Join us on Facebook at Biafra Voice International BVI Channel 1. Till I come your way next time, I still remain Asusu Chinedu Peters. Stay blessed.
Ndị Igbo kwenu 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 anyị ga-adị